Welcome to today's deep dive.
Mm.
We're going to be looking at how a relationship can kind of evolve over several Christmases.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
be doing that using this novel Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh.
Yeah, it's really interesting to look at, how a friendship can develop into something more over time, especially over repeated kind of shared experiences like this.
Yeah. So the story starts with Molly and Andrew. They meet on a plane on the way home for Christmas,
Uh-huh.
and they actually go to the same college,
Right.
but they've never met before.
Oh, wow.
And right away, their personalities clash, which kind of hints at the dynamic that will develop.
Yeah, Andrew is immediately smitten with Molly, but Molly's a lot more reserved and
Yeah.
maybe even a little cynical.
A little guarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't even notice that he's interested in her at first.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of sets the stage for this will they, won't they tension that runs through the whole story.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So as their Christmas flights become this annual tradition, we start to see how those repeated encounters
Uh-huh.
against the backdrop of the holidays
Yeah.
start to kind of chip away at Molly's defenses.
Yeah, those early Christmases, they're so important because they lay the foundation for everything that comes later.
Yeah.
That sense of familiarity and comfort allows their connection to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how those seemingly ordinary moments, just these holiday rituals, end up creating the space for something much deeper to develop between them.
One of the things that really stood out to me was the almost kiss in Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like a real turning point in their relationship. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
that unspoken tension between them just bubbles right to the surface.
It's such a well-written scene, just so much anticipation.
Yeah.
You can feel something shifting between them. And even though they both try to downplay it, you can tell it has a lasting impact on them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them start to acknowledge that there could be something more than friendship.
Right. And then a couple of Christmases later, they do kiss not once but twice.
Uh-huh.
The first time Andrew kind of initiates it.
Right.
And even though they kind of laugh it off,
Yeah.
you can tell that things have changed between them.
There's definitely a sense of excitement and nervousness, like they've crossed a line
Yeah.
and they're not sure what it means. But the fact that they kiss again later and Molly is the one who kisses Andrew the second time shows that the attraction is mutual, even if they're not ready to admit it.
Yeah. And the gifts they exchanged that year, I thought that was really interesting too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Andrew gives Molly this vintage diary that he's had for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like a really personal gift.
Right. It's like he wants to share a part of himself with her, something that means a lot to him.
Yeah, and then she gives him a really nice sweater,
Yeah.
which is funny because, at the beginning, she would always make fun of his Christmas sweaters.
Totally. I think that shows how their dynamic is changing. She sees him differently now.
Right. And I think for the next few years, their relationship is kind of dancing around this possibility of romance.
Mm.
He's in a long-term relationship with Emily.
Right.
Molly's dating different people.
Yeah.
But you still get these hints that they have feelings for each other.
Uh-huh.
These lingering glances, these unspoken moments.
It's like their feelings become even stronger during the holidays.
Yeah.
Like Christmas brings out their true feelings.
And then there's that scene where Andrew says that he wanted to kiss Molly years ago.
Yeah.
During one of their first Christmas flights.
Right.
And it really makes you wonder, what was holding him back? Was it Emily? Or was he scared of ruining their friendship? Or
maybe he wasn't sure about his own feelings yet.
right, maybe he wasn't ready.
Right.
It's such a key moment because it reveals just how deeply he feels for her.
It does. It really does.
And then things really start to shift when both of their relationships end.
Yeah. Andrew and Emily break up.
Right. And Molly and Mark break up. And it feels like all of a sudden there's this opening for them.
Yeah, like those breakups were what they needed to happen to move forward.
Right. Like it takes these major life events to make you reevaluate your relationships. And that's exactly what happens to Molly after she and Mark break up.
Yeah.
She decides to spend Christmas in Ireland with Andrew and his family
Wow. Instead of going back to Chicago.
instead of going home.
Yeah. Huge turning point.
Yeah.
They're really stepping outside of their comfort zones and embracing the unknown together.
And I think being in his family home, like surrounded by all the traditions of an Irish Christmas,
Yeah.
it really transforms their relationship.
It's so intimate.
They end up sharing a room.
Yeah.
So there's this closeness, this heightened sense of intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it forces them to confront their feelings.
For sure. For sure.
And then Andrew tells Molly that he's sober now.
Oh, wow.
And it's this other layer of vulnerability to their relationship.
Yeah, he's really trusting her with this part of himself that he's kept hidden.
And it's in this atmosphere of like heightened intimacy and personal revelations that Molly finally confesses her feelings.
Wow.
And of course, Andrew admits he's been in love with her for years.
Oh, wow.
It's like this huge release for both of them.
It is all those years of unspoken feelings just come pouring out.
Right, but of course, there are still some challenges ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Molly's nervous about meeting his family.
Yeah, that's understandable.
She doesn't know how they'll react to their relationship.
Right.
It's not exactly traditional.
No, it's definitely not.
But when they get to the Fitzpatrick family home,
Yeah.
she's welcomed with open arms, especially by Andrew's mother, Colleen.
Oh, that's so sweet.
She can really sense the connection between Molly and Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her warmth makes Molly feel more comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
And Andrew decides to tell his family about his sobriety.
Oh, wow.
And he gets mixed reactions.
Yeah, that feels... Real families can be complicated.
It's so true. Some are supportive, others just don't get it. But there's this beautiful scene where Molly opens up to Andrew about her career aspirations.
Mm.
She's a lawyer, but she's not fulfilled.
Wow.
And she tells him about her dream of becoming a food guide.
It's such a big step for her to share that dream with him.
Yeah, it shows how much trust and emotional safety has developed between them.
Definitely.
And it's right after this that they finally
Yeah.
consummate their relationship.
It feels so natural after all they've been through.
Yeah, like a natural progression.
Like their physical connection is just an extension of all that emotional intimacy they've built.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that Andrew then decides to stay in Chicago to be with Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was thinking about moving back to Ireland,
Right.
it shows you just how committed he is to their relationship.
Yeah, he's willing to put their love first.
Yeah, and their last Christmas together. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. They have both of their families there.
Oh, wow.
And there's just this feeling of contentment and joy.
It's a really satisfying ending to their story.
Mm.
It's not a fairy tale, but it feels genuine and hopeful.
It makes you think about the power of shared experiences.
Yeah.
All those Christmases, all those flights home,
Mm-hmm.
they created this space for their relationship to evolve.
It reminds you that even small moments can have a big impact.
Yeah, and that sometimes the most meaningful connections develop over time.
Exactly.
Think about your own life.
Yeah.
Are there people you've come to know better through repeated interactions, maybe through a shared hobby or a work project?
Uh-huh.
It's amazing how those seemingly ordinary moments can build a foundation of familiarity and trust.
It is.
And sometimes those connections lead to friendships or relationships that you never could have predicted.
Absolutely.
And this novel, it throws a curveball when Andrew gets offered a job back in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And he has to decide what's more important to him, his career or his relationship with Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that kind of dilemma.
Oh, for sure.
When you have to balance your own ambitions with the needs of your relationship.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how being apart makes them realize how much they mean to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes that distance, that possibility of loss to make you see what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And for Andrew, it's clear that he can't imagine his life without Molly.
Yeah.
So he comes back to Chicago.
Wow.
He chooses love over his career.
That's so powerful.
It shows you that human connection is so important.
does.
And this book, it doesn't just focus on romantic love. It also shows the importance of family,
Right.
the good and the bad.
Yeah, you see that with Molly and her sister Zoe,
Mm-hmm.
and also with Andrew and his siblings and his parents.
Yeah, those scenes with Andrew's family are so well written,
They are.
especially when he tells them about being sober.
That Christmas dinner scene.
Yeah, you see all these different emotions,
Mm.
confusion, concern, acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds you that families can be messy,
Mm-hmm.
but they also offer this sense of belonging and unconditional love.
Yeah.
And, I love how the author portrays those family dynamics so realistically.
It's so relatable.
The humor, the heartwarming moments,
Mm,
it makes you appreciate those connections even when they're imperfect.
it does.
And I think the settings also add to the story.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You have Chicago, Argentina, Paris, Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're taken on a journey
Mm.
along with the characters.
And those different settings, they provide the backdrop for their relationship to unfold.
Yeah, through all those journeys, all those shared experiences in different places,
Uh-huh.
their connection gets stronger.
Yeah. They learn about each other's cultures and perspectives.
Right. And their love grows beyond geographical boundaries.
Yeah.
So as we think about their unconventional love story,
Mm.
what are some of the key takeaways for you?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is the power of repeated encounters.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that their relationship unfolds over so many Christmases shows how our perceptions of each other can change over time Sometimes the most meaningful connections take time to develop.
Yeah, and it reminds us to be open to the unexpected.
Huh.
Molly and Andrew started as strangers on a plane.
Right.
Who would have thought they'd end up together?
Yeah, life is full of surprises.
It really is, and I think it's also about vulnerability. Both Molly and Andrew had to let their guard down
Right.
to share their fears and insecurities,
Yeah.
and that's how their connection deepened.
It takes courage to be vulnerable with someone.
It does.
But when you do, it can lead to a much deeper and more authentic love. And it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about showing up as you are.
Yeah, with all your imperfections.
Yeah, and embracing the messiness of human connection.
I love that it reminds you that relationships are a journey. There will be ups and downs, twists and turns.
Yeah.
But it's about navigating those challenges together.
And celebrating the small moments along the way.
Right, and sometimes those challenges actually make the relationship stronger. Like when Andrew goes back to Ireland.
Right.
It forces them to face their fears about the future and ultimately reaffirm their commitment.
They learn to communicate openly and honestly.
Yeah, and that's what allows their love to endure.
And their love keeps growing through all those shared experiences.
Right, they learn to appreciate each other's strengths, support each other's weaknesses.
And build a connection that's really resilient.
So, as we think about Molly and Andrew's story, what resonates with you? Have you ever had a relationship that evolved in an unexpected way?
Or maybe a shared tradition that strengthened a bond.
This story shows us that relationships are constantly changing and full of surprises.
They challenge us to grow and embrace the beauty of human connection, even when it's messy.
And sometimes the most fulfilling relationships are the ones that defy expectations. Like Molly and Andrew's Christmas tradition led them to a love they never could have imagined.
Right.
It reminds us that magic can be found in the most ordinary places.
Yeah, in those shared moments and the connections we make.
Exactly.
And that love stories don't always follow a straight path.
There are detours and delays, but it's those shared experiences that make it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
So as you're spending time with loved ones this holiday season, think about the relationships in your own life.
Yeah.
How have shared experiences shaped those bonds, and what unexpected journeys might be ahead?
That's a great question.
And if you could relive a specific holiday tradition with someone, who would it be and why?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them on social media using the hashtag
Deep Dive Holiday Romance.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope it's made you think about your own relationships and the traditions that bring you closer to the people you love. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. It feels like a natural progression.
Yeah.
After all they've been through.
Yeah, like their physical connection. It's kind of like an extension of all that emotional intimacy that they've built over time.
Right. And then what's so interesting is that Andrew decides to stay in Chicago.
To be with Molly.
Right.
Even though he was thinking about moving back to Ireland.
Yeah, he was.
So it really shows you how committed he is.
Yeah, he's choosing their relationship over his own ambitions.
Exactly. And then that last Christmas together, both families are there.
Oh, wow.
And is just this beautiful scene of contentment and joy.
It's a really satisfying ending to their story.
It is.
It feels very genuine and hopeful.
Yeah. It's not a fairy tale ending.
No.
But it feels real.
It does.
And it makes you think about the power of, those shared experiences. All those Christmases together.
Or those flights home,
All those flights home.
They created this space for them to grow closer.
Right. And, sometimes those small moments can have such a big impact.
Yeah, they really can.
Like, think about your own life. Are there certain people that you've gotten to know better through repeated interactions?
Yeah, like maybe a hobby you do together.
Right, or a work project. Or even just running into someone at your favorite coffee shop.
Yeah, those little things add up over time.
Right, and it's amazing how those seemingly ordinary moments can build these connections based on familiarity and trust. And sometimes those connections can turn into friendships or even relationships that you never expected.
Absolutely. And speaking of unexpected things, this book throws in a curveball when Andrew gets offered a job back in Ireland.
Yeah.
And suddenly he has to decide what's more important, his career or his relationship with Molly.
It's a tough choice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been in that situation.
Trying to balance your own ambitions
Right.
with the needs of your relationship.
It's not always easier.
It's not. And it's interesting how being apart
Yeah.
makes them realize how much they really care about each other.
Yeah, like sometimes you need that distance.
Right, that threat of losing
To
someone
see clearly.
to see what really matters.
Exactly.
And for Andrew, it becomes very clear
Uh-huh.
that he can't be without Molly.
Ah.
So he comes back to Chicago. He chooses love over his career aspirations.
That's so powerful.
It is.
It really highlights how important human connection is.
Right, and it's not just about romantic love.
No.
This book also explores the importance of family, the joys and the challenges.
You see that with Molly and her sister Zoe,
Uh-huh.
and with Andrew and his siblings and his parents.
Yeah, those scenes with his family are so well written,
They really are.
especially that Christmas dinner scene
Oh, yeah.
when he tells them about his sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
There's such a mix of emotions there.
Right. You see confusion, concern, and then ultimately acceptance.
Right, it really shows you how complicated families can be.
Yeah, but how at the end of the day, they offer that sense of belonging and unconditional love.
Right, and I love how the author captures all of those dynamics
Mm-hmm.
so realistically.
Like, you can really relate to those characters.
Yeah, the humor, the heartwarming moments.
See, it makes you appreciate your own family even more.
Right, even with all their imperfections.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the settings also add so much to the story.
Oh, yeah.
You have Chicago, Argentina, Paris, Ireland.
All those different places.
Yeah, it's like we're going on a journey with the characters.
And each setting kind of provides a different backdrop for their relationship to unfold.
Right, they learn about each other's cultures.
Mm-hmm.
They see the world from different perspectives.
Yeah,
And their love grows beyond those geographical boundaries.
it really does.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into holiday romance,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that stand out to you?
Well, I think this story really highlights the importance of those repeated encounters.
Right.
You know, the fact that Molly and Andrew's relationship develops over so many Christmases shows us that our perceptions of people can change over time.
Yeah, and sometimes those most meaningful connections take a while to develop.
Exactly, and it reminds us to be open to the unexpected.
Right.
You know, Molly and Andrew started out as complete strangers.
On a plane.
Yeah, and who would have thought they would end up together?
Life is full of surprises.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think this book also emphasizes the importance of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Both Molly and Andrew had to let their guard down
Yeah,
and share their fears and insecurities
right.
in order for their connection to grow deeper.
It takes courage to be vulnerable.
It does.
But when you are the place, it can lead to such a deeper and more authentic love.
Right, and it's not about being perfect or having it all figured out.
No.
It's about showing up as you are
Mm-hmm.
with all your flaws.
And embracing that messiness of human connection.
I love that
Yeah.
because it reminds us that relationships are a journey.
Yeah, not a destination.
Exactly. There are going to be ups and downs, twists and turns along the way.
But you navigate those challenges together.
Right, and you celebrate those small moments.
The little things that make it all worthwhile.
And sometimes it's actually those challenges
Mm-hmm.
that make a relationship even stronger.
Yeah.
Like when Andrew went back to Ireland,
Right.
it forced them to face their fears about the future and ultimately reaffirm their commitment to each other.
And they learn to communicate more openly and honestly with each other.
Right, and their willingness to work through those tough moments.
Yeah.
That's what allows their love to last.
It shows that relationships take effort and compromise.
Right, and you have to be willing to prioritize the other person.
Yeah, even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, and it's through those shared experiences,
Mm-hmm.
those moments of vulnerability and growth,
Mm-hmm.
that their love really deepens and evolves.
It does.
They learn to appreciate each other's strengths,
Mm-hmm.
support each other's weaknesses.
And they build a connection that's resilient.
So as we're thinking about Molly and Andrew's story,
Yeah.
what resonates with you as a listener?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a relationship that evolved in a way that you didn't expect,
Or maybe a tradition that you share with someone?
that strengthened your bond?
Yeah.
This story shows us that relationships are always changing.
Yeah, they're constantly evolving.
Yeah, and they're full of surprises.
And they challenge us to grow and to embrace the beauty of human connection.
Even when it's messy.
Exactly.
And sometimes the most fulfilling relationships are the ones that defy expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like Molly and Andrew's Christmas tradition led them to a love that they never could have imagined.
It reminds us that magic can be found in the most ordinary places.
Right, those
Yeah.
shared moments, those little connections.
And that love stories don't always follow a straight path.
There are detours and delays,
Yeah.
but it's those shared experiences that make the journey so worthwhile.
Yeah.
So as we're all gathering with our loved ones this holiday season,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to think about the relationships in your own life.
Yeah.
How have shared experiences shaped those bonds?
Mm-hmm.
And what unexpected journeys might be ahead?
What a great question. It's a great question to think about.
And if you could relive a specific holiday tradition
Mm-hmm.
with someone,
Yeah.
who would it be
Oh,
and why?
that's a good one.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Share them on social media
Yeah.
using the hashtag #DeepDiveHolidayRomance.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope it's given you some things to think about
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to your own relationships
Yeah.
and the traditions
Mm-hmm.
that bring you closer to the people that you love.
Absolutely.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, too.